Hi guys and gals, Froggy here. This is my '02 Suburban Z71 and I don't have a very good parking brake situation. I push it all the way down to the floor and I've tried pumping it and it's supposed to be self-adjusting, but it doesn't really self-adjust. It's basically not a terrific design, but anyway, it's the parking brake is a shoe type brake which is inside the rear discs. So I'm going to show you how you can adjust it by taking off the rear disc brakes. I'm going to jack it up on the rear axle. I've got a chock in the front. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah. So let's take the wheels off and see what we got. This is the parking brake cable right here. Right now I don't have it pushed down, it's loose. Basically when you push on the pedal and near the driver's seat, this will pull and tighten up these cables. This is like an equalizing cable that goes to the excuse me, it goes to the right rear and the left rear, and you can see they go up here after they split. One goes to the right side and one goes to the left side, and they basically tighten up the drum brake. The drum brake is inside your disc brake, right in here. And as you can see, somebody's already taken all the adjustment out of this. If there was any adjustment, maybe it was halfway to start with. Probably this cable is stretched out because this is an '02, so it's 10 years old. And but to buy this cable is probably going to be, I don't know, $50, $100, who knows these days. I'm going to try and do an adjustment in here first. Now, you used to be able to adjust these through a little access hole when all the cars were drum brakes, but they did away with the access hole, and the parking brake is supposed to be self-adjusting, but it's not. So let's pull this caliper off and then see if we can get this disc off and see what we got underneath there. There are two bolts that hold the caliper onto the caliper bracket, and you have to hold there's like an inner flat that you have to put a wrench on to get it started. The bolt's out here, but there's a flat you have to hold. And see if I can show you. I'm holding it with my finger. Yeah. See, I've got an open end wrench on the flat, and I'm just cranking on the caliper bolt to get it out. Now you just need to wiggle and pull on this caliper and it'll come off. It'll be a little bit tight there, and that'll come off. Just place it, don't let it dangle, place it carefully so that there's no strain on the hose, because that hose is 10 years old. You could break it inside. Now I'm going to squeeze the pistons back into this caliper using a C-clamp before I try to put it back on, because otherwise when I try to put it back on, it's going to be tight. Take your pads out. Look at them, of course, see if you need brake pads. These look good. And now I'm going to have to take this caliper bracket off, and that's going to be torqued pretty tight. I'm going to have to get a big breaker bar on that. It'll be like around 100 pound-feet. I'll see if I can find that for you. It's going to be tight. Okay, we got our caliper bracket out. I like to mark it. It's out. I didn't really have to do that because there's only one way it can go, but you can get it kind of mixed up and confused, so if you put an up arrow and mark it out, I like to do that. These little quick nuts were put on at the factory when this truck was built. It's the only time you'll ever see them. It means these rotors have never been off. I'm going to take them off and I don't need to use them again. They're just for factory assembly. They really serve no other purpose once the car's in the consumer's hands. I just grab it with a pair of big needle nose pliers and rip it off. So they'll actually break if you lean on them hard enough. What I'm finding in here is that the pad material has actually broken off of these shoes. Now there is no brake pad material. There's some laying down there in the bottom of that shoe. So I got to get new shoes. Now the inside, actually, you got to check this. It feels pretty good. I think I'll be able to just reuse these rotors. I could get them turned if I wanted to make it perfect, but I'm really not going to do that because I don't use the parking brake that much. There's some more of that brake pad material. So Froggy's going to go to the phone and see if I can get these locally here. I'll be back. My local parts store has got this in stock, about $30 for the whole axle. So I'm going to bring this old one in there just to make sure it's the right one. Always nice to match up the parts. So I just popped it off. This is the adjuster right here. I just popped it off the adjuster, and now I'm just kind of doing a little wiggly thing to get it off of the... See, you just go one side, the other side, just kind of wiggle it over the bearing. And there it is. See how... There's my parking brake pad material. Anyway, going to get the new one. I'll be right back. Alrighty, Froggy's back, and here's our new parking brake assembly with some pad material on it, unlike the other one which had no pad material. Now I'm just going to show this goes on the same way it goes off, just like one side at a time. I'm going to need both hands to do it, so you just kind of get it started and then work your way around in a circle, more or less. You can use a little bit of pry bar, but don't pry on it too hard or you'll bend it out of correct shape. Now, before you do that, this is the adjuster. You want to screw the adjuster all the way in on one side. Let me get my flashlight. Right there. Screw that in all the way so it's not pushing out against, it's not expanding your parking brake piece. So here's how you do it. Put the parking brake shoe over all the lugs. You see how I've got it? Then on the back side or front side, doesn't matter, get it started a little bit there and then follow it along a little bit more. So you really don't have to expand it that much. Now, I am going to need two hands, but I wanted to show you this part here where you put it over all the lugs and then get it started on one side. And what you want to do is actually get one tip like this tip that my finger is on, get it all the way over the hub, all the way over, and then that'll give you room to go the other direction and get the rest of it over. It's really pretty simple. You should not have to do any forcing here. Alright? There's a clip on the bottom, and the inner edge of this right here, this inner edge wants to go under that clip. Alright? Don't forget that. Once that clip is holding the parking brake assembly, and you can see it holds it right in position. See, I'm not touching anything. Now I just have to spread it a little bit to get it into the adjuster. I think I'll do that side first, the back side with the adjusting screw on it first, and then pop the front end. These have a groove in them. It has a groove, so make sure the groove is like up and down, parallel to the backing plate. Don't have the groove turned sideways. Alright, there it is. Alright, the adjustment is fully closed. The slots, the parking brake pad carrier, I'll call it the pad carrier. The slots are up and down. The clip is good down there. It looks nice and even. It has to touch the backing plate in 3 places, which it's hard to show you, but there's 3 spots where it touches the backing plate. So that's on there. Now we're going to have to test fit and put the. We're going to do 2 things. Push down on the parking brake inside the car and see that it expands this piece here, and also test fit the rotor to make sure it doesn't drag. It shouldn't drag because it's at the minimum place. And then we want to expand it a little bit using this adjuster screw, but we don't want it to be dragging on the rotor. So we're going to do 2 things. Now, I pressed down on the parking brake, and you should be able to see. Hold on a second, sorry, out of frame. You should be able to see here that this has expanded a little bit there and quite a bit there, maybe 3 millimeters, and that expands this, and it would make it rub on the rotor. So we know that pedal is working. Now we're going to check the adjustment to make sure that it's really not any big adjustments that are going to happen here. We're talking about just very small adjustments. So let me take the parking brake off. See how that's closed up now. So parking brake is off. Now I'm going to put my rotor back on. Okay, I've got my rotor on, and I can move it pretty freely, and the parking brake is not dragging. So I'm going to adjust it a little bit so that when I do put the parking brake down, when I press on that pedal, I want it to engage this drum inside. So I'm going to open it up a little bit. To expand this, you want to take a little screwdriver or a lever and move this wheel clockwise. Sorry, this is hard to do. Just get the edge of it there. See that? Moving it clockwise, and that's screwing this out. Now I took about 1 full turn, and now I want to test it again. Okay, still I'm not getting any resistance, so I'm going to go a little bit more. Okay, now I've got it adjusted so I've got some resistance. I'm having a hard time turning this. I can tell it's rubbing. I could sort of hear that it's rubbing, but I can tell it's rubbing. It was a little hard to push it on. So now I know my parking brake pads are in contact with the inside of this disc brake. So I'm going to go backwards now. I've got it out where it's contacting. I'm going to go back. Well, I'm going to look at it probably a full turn. I'll show you. You see how much I opened it up right there, right? So now I'm going to go back. That's like about 4 threads if I were counting the threads on that adjuster. So I'm going to go back at least 1 full turn because I don't want these brakes dragging at all. And then I think it's going to be good. Maybe a turn and a half. But if I go too small, then my parking brake won't expand enough and it won't grab inside there. Okay, that's it then. I'm going to call it good. I'm going to go and do the other side. I'm not going to film the other side for you. It's going to go the same as this side did. I did want to get those torque specs for you. Hold on. Well, I couldn't really find a torque spec on these. I am going to put them, well, my caliper bracket bolts on my Corvette are are 14 millimeter heads on the bolts, and they go to 125 foot-pounds. So I'm going to put these are 15 millimeters, so I'm going to put these 10 pounds higher. That's pretty tight. I'm going to use a torque wrench, and I clean these up, and I'm going to put some blue Loctite on there. And for the slide pin bolts on my Corvette, these are the slide pin bolts, and they're much smaller, obviously. I'm going to put those about 40, and I'm also going to Loctite them. Now, you should really look up the torque specs for your vehicle, especially if it's not exactly this vehicle. These are the slide pins. I'm lubing them with some brake parts lubricant, very high temp. This is really part of a brake job, but I'm just doing it anyway because I like to do a little extra to make the brakes work right. There. I already did that one. I got to change batteries on the camera. I put those caliper bracket bolts to 150 foot-pounds. That's as high as my wrench would go, and the specified spec might even be higher than that, so look it up. Now I'm putting the hardware that the disc brake pads slide on back in, and I'm going to lube them up with the same lube that I used on the caliper pins. And then I've got to squeeze those pistons back in and then put it back together. There you can see the lube that I put on those pieces that contact the sliding portion. And the squealer thing usually goes to the bottom, I believe. Loctite on the sliding pin bolts. I'm going to put these to about 40-45. So there you have it. Driver's side new parking brake. And it should be adjusted pretty good. When you first drive it, drive a little ways and get out and smell your rear brakes and make sure that it's not dragging. If it's dragging, then you'll have to shorten up that adjuster a little bit. And then test it, see that it holds when you're parking it on a slope. I know some states they have a safety testing where they test, your headlights or wipers, your parking brake, and so on and so forth. California, they don't care about any of that. All they care about is if you can pass a sniffer test for smog. There are no safety checks whatsoever when you re-register your car every year. So go figure that. Anyway, that's all Froggy's got for you today. If this helps you out, give me a thumbs up. If you want more from Froggy, subscribe to my channel. It's free. Froggy's out. See you later. Passenger side is done. One minor point that Froggy wants to pass on to you. The parking brake C configuration. The adjuster is down here on the passenger side, but don't worry about it. It's the same procedure as what I did. Instead of being up here, it's just down here. Take your time and refer back to the video if you need to refer back to the video. You should be okay. Froggy out. Bye-bye.